fourth story on the countdown, not as scandal for scandal's sake, but because it renews the debate, a crucial one, over whether and how this administration tries to discredit or worse, punish its critics on important matters such as, in this case, waging war on another country. The last new twist, when former Deputy Secretary of State Richard Armitage confirmed his outing as the original source who outed Joe Wilson's wife, Valerie Plame, as a CIA operative. Yesterday, Wilson and Plame added Mr. Armitage to the lawsuit they have filed over the leak. But today's twist, the columnist Robert Novak says Armitage is being deceptive about how he outed Plame. Why does how matter? It appears a lot to matter to the trial of Lewis Scooter Libby, and it may matter to history in its judgment of the current administration. MSNBC's David Schuster keeps trying to get out of this story, but they keep pulling him back in. David, good evening.
Good to be with you, Keith.
The gist of this is Armitage says it was offhand, it was accidental, it was inadvertent, and now Novak says that's nonsense. The guy finally called me into his office. I've been trying to get there for years, gave me the info because he thought I could use it. To start, simply, why does it matter who's telling the truth about that?
Well, it matters because both Novak and Armitage are going to be in the timeline that prosecutors introduced in the Libby trial. And the fact that Armitage and Novak now disagree about how this began, that does put something of a dent in Prosecutor Patrick Fitzgerald. Not the major issues in the Libby case, but it is a ding, and it does open up the opportunity for Scooter Libby to argue, hey, I wasn't the only one confused. Look at these two other guys, and I was the only one charged, and that's not fair. The other thing that's significant about this, and that is if Bob Novak really did dig this information out, and if he was lying about how he got this information, then it would mean that obviously Bob Novak was playing games in his columns. He was possibly playing games with the prosecutors, and that again underscores why so many people in this case seem to believe that Bob Novak was under deeper investigation by prosecutors than has been publicly acknowledged. If, on the other hand, it was Richard Armitage who deliberately gave this information to Bob Novak, and it wasn't innocent the way Armitage has described, then that would suggest that Prosecutor Patrick Fitzgerald blew it when he cleared Richard Armitage early on. And it would also suggest that perhaps this was something that Fitzgerald should have pursued. What's so interesting, Keith, is when you compare the status of Richard Armitage in this case and the status of Bob Novak, Armitage was cleared early on and said, okay, we're done with you. Novak, he kept quiet because prosecutors asked him to stay quiet, but Novak was not cleared, and that suggests to a number of lawyers in this case that prosecutors had actions of Bob Novak in this entire episode than they did with Richard Armitage.
Apart from the actual prosecution, is there a deep irony in this? Novak's column denying that this was all some sort of slip or incidental event also insists that Armitage's revelation proves that there was no White House coordinated plan to punish Joe Wilson by ruining Valerie Plame. But didn't Bob Novak just reignite the political debate by painting Armitage as a liar or a bender of the truth here?
Well, he did, but what he did is he also took a shot in a war that continues to this day between the neocons in the White House, Richard Cheney, of course, the boss of Scooter Libby, and also, of course, Karl Rove, and those who are the moderates who are getting a lot of sympathy in Washington, and that is the Colin Powell crowd, including his deputy, Richard Armitage. And what Novak seems to be suggesting, and now that Novak has been told that he's not going to be charged in any of this, Novak seems to be suggesting, hey, I'm not going to allow Richard Armitage to get by. I'm going to take my shots at him if I feel that he deserves them. It's a very odd way to treat somebody, a source that you've protected publicly for the last couple of years. But again, it explains why a lawyer in this case told me that if there's anything that any of us have learned in this entire episode, it's that Bob Novak is a very, very odd guy.
And as the other man you brought into this, remember, the White House says Colin Powell is confused. MSNBC's David Schuster, as always, great reporting on this, and great thanks.
Thanks, Keith.